And special education was a big part of that. And I actually had to pretend to be in a wheelchair. I had to, for 24 hours, you remember that, Fran? 24 hours, I had to live my life as if I was wheelchair bound. Let me tell you something. Wow. What an eye-opening experience that was. I couldn't get out of the car myself. Certainly couldn't get into the wheelchair myself. Just navigating remember we went to the grocery store. Wow. Everything's up here. Wow. It changed my outlook. It helped me understand what it's like to be crippled, what it's like to be in need. Before I knew God, before I was a follower of Jesus, raise your hand. Anybody remember those days? You sure? I do. They're right here. In fact, I wish I could get them out. But I can't. They're right there. I remember pretty clear. I was 17. But I was living in darkness. Of course, I didn't know it. Who does? Didn't know it. All I knew was what I knew. 17, doing what 17-year-old guys do or hope to do. Mostly me, it was hope to do. Somebody gave me a Bible. That's a whole other story. But I ended up with a Bible in my hand, and I started reading it. I knew nothing. Zero. Zilch. Zippo. The only thing I knew was the book of Revelation, the end book, the last book, was really cool. That's all I knew. Boy, what a mind trip that book is. So somebody corrected me and said, hey, maybe you might want to start a little earlier than that. So I started reading the book of, you guessed it, Matthew. Thank God my name wasn't George or Fred or Bill or something like that, right? It was Matthew. Wow. What a different, it was amazing. I'm reading about this guy, and everybody's fighting about this guy, and everybody's got different opinions about this guy, and here I am. Of course, I'm reading it in the bathtub, because I don't want anybody to know, and that's pretty much the most private place in a house with 5 children you can find. So I'm reading in the bathtub, right? And I'm just reading a little bit at a time, and I find myself in the middle of this story, taking both sides, not knowing I had nothing. I'm just reading it, and I'm just being carried along in the story like that one. I was smitten. And I sat there in that bathtub, and I said to God, I want to follow this guy. I didn't even know what that meant. There was nobody teaching me, training me, showing me, no voices, nothing. Well, there were a couple of voices. Nothing. I wanted to follow this guy. And from there began the whole process, the whole journey. God put people into my life, taught me, and then from there, just continued to grow. Did you see this guy? Did you see this guy? He's born blind. He didn't know any other way. He didn't know anything other than that. In fact, what do you see that one of the apostles' disciples did? That was supposed to be Peter. What did Peter say to Jesus? Why don't we just leave him alone? He's fine. He was born this way. He has accepted his fate. Jesus said, nope. While I'm in the world, nobody can stay in darkness. I wanted to follow Jesus. Even now, family, even now, when it is hard, let me tell you, it's hard and unclear, and there are pressures from every side popping out of the snow like daisies, just popping out. You know what that's from? Loved ones, people I have known and loved for years, scared. I may feel alone. You may feel alone. I still want to follow Jesus. Does anybody else? I still want to follow him. The thing is that means I'm not the one leading. That's the problem with that whole thing. Right? I want to follow. It's just he's the one who chooses where we go and what the path is and what that looks like. What do you think was going through their mind? How can this be? The miracle is actually not even that important. What's important is what happens. Whose eyes were opened? Who was blind? I want to be brave. You know, we read, when Anthony, my son, was little, we read the book of Acts together, and it was like a great adventure. We started off in, chapter 1, as that's where it begins, and we read all the way through, and we did it every week. And it was like adventure of superheroes. These people, what they did, and how excited they were, how powerful it was. Seeing Philip run up to that chariot, it's funny. It was exciting. It was simple. Right? Simple. I want to have a clear purpose. And I want to put the love of people, not love to me, love for them, above my knowledge of what I think is right. See these guys here, right? Did you hear the music change? Banana, evil, evil, right? They come walking in. They didn't see the guy. They didn't see the blind guy. They just saw an infraction. They just saw something that wasn't right. By the way, we're already suspicious of this guy. This just confirmed our fears. I want to go where he goes. If that's Guatemala, if that's Brockton, if that's Mansfield, if that's my grandchildren, if that's me in the mirror, I want to go where he goes. I said it almost 40 years ago. I'm going to say it till you put me in the ground. I want to go where he goes. Don't you? Right? I want to do what he does. I want to heal the sick. I want to open the eyes of the blind. I want to unstop the ears of the deaf. I want to heal. I want to be a light. Right now they're in there. What do you think? They're singing, this little light. They're singing, they're learning, right? Where does that get lost? Why? There's no reason. Now, listen. Well, we'll come back to that. Come with me. You know, it says in, I think it's John, when one guy meets Jesus for the first time, do you remember what he does? One of the guys, he runs off and finds his brother, right? It says the first thing he did was ran off and found his brother. Do you know who his brother was? What? Think about the implications. This guy goes find his brother. He's so excited. Why does that have to stop? Why does that have to change? What's so complicated? Even now, follow him like you did when it was new. I talked to Brian Farrell, and he went to go visit a church. It was last weekend or whatever. And he said to me, he said, you know what it felt like? He said it felt like a group of a whole bunch of brand new Christians. Wow. Just follow him like you did before. So let's take a look at this story a little bit more closely. So, we got a guy, what's the scene, right? We got a guy who's blind. Did it happen because of some accident or some tragic event? No. Why did it happen? He was born that way. In other words, he's been this way forever. He doesn't know anything else. Okay. Why not leave him alone? What's he do for a living? How does he make his money? He begs. In exchange, he says he'll pray, right? He'll pray. Why not leave it alone? It's a good system. Works. They pray for us. We give them some money. What's the big deal? Jesus wanted to change it. He looks at him, walks by. Later, takes some mud. It's like one of the grossest passages in the Bible. Spits into some dirt, makes some mud, and puts it on the guy's eyes. No wonder why the guy was screaming. Leave my eyes alone! You're hurting me, they're burning. What have you done to them? Right? Those of you who are learning about God for the first time, or maybe you're kind of new at this, it's going to feel strange and weird, and it may even hurt, right? Why? Because it's different. The patterns are different. You're changing. Your heart's being open. You're seeing the world differently. You're gaining sight. It's going to hurt. It's not going to, you can't just like sidle into it. It's a change. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he said this, he spat on the ground and made mud. Go wash in the pool of Siloam. I've been there. I've stood right around this pool. Hezekiah, when they were being attacked, built a tunnel from one end of the city to the other. It ends at this pool. I went through that tunnel. It's real. You know this is a real story, man? It's real. It really happened. You know that, John? This is real. It's a real guy. Really happened. One of the things that happens over time, sometimes, is we look at these as stories and forget that this is real. I told my friend Bob, I said, Bob, it's like sometimes we're reading two different books. Some folks read it, and that's where it stays. Some folks read it, and they go, oh my, I've got to do something with this. We've got to change. We've got to be and do and live differently. Right? This is real. I've actually been there. So he goes and washes, and he can see. What's his first reaction? What's he want to do? Find Jesus, find the man who did it for him, and thank him. Right? How many of you want to thank Jesus and thank God for what he's done in your life? Yeah. How do we do that? We talk to him, we sing to him, we tell other people about him, we live in such a way that shows we're glad and we're happy and we're thankful. That's all. That's all. But that's what he wanted to do. And he finds them, and he thanks them. Jesus asks him a question. He said, do you believe in the Son of Man? Now, what did he mean by that? Do you believe in the Son of Man? What's the guy say? He says, show me who he is. And Jesus said, you're looking right at him, bud. Wow. Think about the power. He couldn't have said that 5 minutes earlier. He says, you're looking right at him. And it says the guy got on his knees and worshiped and thanked him. Beautiful story. Beautiful. But it doesn't end there. Little problem. What was the problem? True, but what was the problem? When did Jesus make that little mud pie? On the Sabbath. Now, again, for you guys who are just learning about God for the first time, you don't care, you don't know. It was a big deal. Big deal, because who commanded that you should not work on the Sabbath? God. What did these people want to do? Worship and honor and obey God, right? Oh, we got a problem. We made mud. It's interesting, isn't it? Interesting that he makes mud. Who else made a big mud pie? You're looking at him. I am that mud pie. Who else made a big mud pie? So if your kids want to play in the mud, you say, you're being just like God. That's great. God likes playing in the mud. He made a big, awesome mud pie, and then he blows into it, and man became a living being. That's what's happening here. He makes the mud. Did he have to make mud? Jesus, he walks, in another scene in this. This is awesome, by the way. If you haven't seen Jesus of Nazareth in a long time, I recommend doing it. So he walks down. Lazarus is dead. He's been dead for 3 days. Jesus comes down and he does this, like aerial symbol, and he says, Lazarus, come forth. And he comes out, all wrapped. It's just, I don't know how he did that, but he comes out. It's incredible. He doesn't have to do mud. He doesn't have to touch. He doesn't have to do anything. He just has to speak it. But he made mud. Seems a little provocative, don't you think? Jesus, come on. You have to do it that way for. Why do you have to be so Jesus-like? Can't you just play nice with others? Can't you just, stop needling every time? How many of you are rebellious by nature? Raise your hand. Not everybody is. Okay, come on. How many of you are rebellious? You see that line? I got a granddaughter. Oh, my goodness. You know which one I mean. It doesn't matter what the thing is that she's not supposed to do. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that she's heard the precept, the rule, the command, the instruction. This is what she does. Say, we'll call her Sally. Sally, don't leave the yard. This is what she does. Looking right at you. So my son says, I can see you. I'm looking right at you. God says, you know, I can see you, right? I'm looking right at where you go. I'm still seeing you. I can still see you. Where are you? I still see you. I am, generally speaking, rebellious. That's my nature. It's not always a good thing. Believe me. But that's who I am. Is that all Jesus is being here? He's just giving it to the man, sticking it to the man, the man. Why can't you just play nice, Jesus? Why didn't you make mud on Tuesday? Why do you have to make mud on Saturday? I imagine, the boys, the apostles, they're like, it wasn't me, right? Make way, the high priest is coming. Interesting. Yeah, he made mud on a Saturday, right in the middle of the day, in the temple. Okay? Yeah. For all you who think that following Jesus is for sissies, you are dead wrong. You are dead wrong. If you want to exercise that nature that God has given you to buck against the system and to do right no matter what, then follow this man. Let me tell you, this is not easy. And it's not hard because of self-denial and religiosity. It's hard because you're doing stuff like this. You're getting at the truth. Makes mud on a stinking Saturday. You see, there's 3 stories here. There's Jesus and what he's doing. There's the blind guy and what's happening to him. And then there's the saved, or the righteous, as they called themselves, the religious, those who already got it together, those who know. There's 3 stories going on in mind. Jesus could have done this any old way he wanted. He decides to do it on a Saturday by making mud. This other guy, the guy who's blind, was born that way. He doesn't know anything else. The righteous, the saved, what's their angle on this? Why are they so upset? What's their problem? Who's spitting their bean curd? What's their problem? Are they just mean? I mean, some people are, right? But what's their problem? Why are they not happy? Why are they not saying, he's a prophet? Why? What's their problem? See, their angle is they were told by God that this is how life is. This is what you do. They were told by God that I don't want you messing around with the occult, or what we would think of as sort of spiritual realms of things. I don't want you messing around with that. In fact, I want you to get rid of it completely. Do you know that the ancient texts from the Jewish perspective that talk about why Jesus was put to death, do you know why? For sorcery. These guys were very concerned. They were the leadership. They were the thought leaders. They were the shepherds of that generation. They were concerned. They had the Romans here who, if they smelled any kind of rebellion, they put it to death and they destroyed all the family, all the people, all the community. Thousands of these very guys were murdered by the Romans 100 years earlier. They had a lot at stake. You betcha they were concerned. They don't know about this guy, Jesus. He's got the people all whooped up, and they're concerned. Yeah, his teachings are okay, but he's just too left. Things people are saying about him, they're just too left. Yeah. You can't blame these guys for taking a good, hard look at what's happened. So the question is, who are you in this story? Is everybody somebody when you read? You know, when you read, how many of you have read Moby Dick or know the story, right? How many of you were cheering for the whale? Me? Go, Moby Dick! Moby Dick, he's our man. I cheered for the whale, sorry. When you read a story, you're injecting yourself into that story. So who are you? Got to be honest. I have been all of these people. Kind of like Carol Golden. I've been all of these people. Okay? All at once. I've been on one end, and I've been on the other. I've been all these people. Are you Jesus? Out there among the people, struggling to give sight by any means possible, even making mud. If you are, and some of you are, remember the happiness of those whom you have healed in the past. And let it spur you to do it again for somebody else stumbling around in the darkness. How many of you have ever personally, deliberately shared the great gospel with another living person? Not dragged them to church, but shared the gospel with another person. How many of you have ever done that? What's that experience like, Peter? You did it with your nephew. What's that experience like? It's mind-blowing. Time doesn't exist. It is an incredible thing. You're seeing somebody you're seeing the effect of Jesus 2,000 years ago, these words spoken, and you're seeing them in someone's heart, generating and lifting, and wow, and they're willing. They're so willing to just follow him. It's magical, isn't it? And do you end that experience by saying, geez, I hope I never have to do that again. Boy, that was a chore. You loved it. You wanted to do it again. Maybe, and I know you don't want to admit it, but maybe you're the saved ones. Are you Samantha? You. Maybe you're the saved ones. Maybe you already have had this, you grew up with it, it's a part of your life. You know what God will and will not do. You know that. You're convinced about the truth of what God will and will not allow. Right? That doesn't sound too bad. But you're setting me up, Lyndon. Yeah, I'm setting you up. Maybe that's me. Any religious leaders, teachers, protectors, shepherds want to come forward? I'm making a call. No? No? Okay, I'm just asking. Guess we don't have any in here, I guess. Then there's none out there in TV land. I ask you to come and follow Jesus. Let the actions listen to me now. The actions of Jesus demonstrate what following him means. I got to tell you, the last thing in the world I want to be involved in is religion. I hate it. But I want to follow Jesus. I want to follow Jesus. I want to go. Let the actions, I'm going to say it again, of Jesus demonstrate what following him means. Go where he goes. Do what he does. Let your heart be moved to see the person and not their blindness. Rejoice over the miracle without having to investigate it. Can you do that? Can you just... I remember I shared the gospel with a guy, and he told me this amazing story about something that happened in his life. He didn't know it, but I'm sitting there in the seat going, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is true. Ooh. But that day, God had a victory because I looked at him and I said, praise God for that amazing thing. Did that thing bring him closer or take him further away? It brought him to that table. And we shared the gospel with that guy and we baptized that guy. And he's your brother today. But if I had investigated it, if I had said, what's your story? That you can give sight to the blind. Maybe today you're the blind guy. May I be the blind guy? Lord, may I be the blind guy my whole life. I want to be that guy. It's been this way forever. Spiritually, emotionally, just existing. Let the words of Jesus heal you today. Come follow him. Come see the man who told me everything I ever did. Come follow this man. Could he be the Christ? Come follow him. Best line in the scripture in this encounter. Best line is said by who? Let's see what you think. What's the best line and who said it? You're not allowed to speak. See? Doubters, did you see what I just did? What's the best line in this whole thing? What's that? He says, you got your sight back from God, not from this man. He's a sinner. What'd the guy say? I don't know. I don't know if he's a sinner or not. All I know is that I was blind and now I see. Where is he that I can go and thank him? That's it, folks. That's it. All I know is that I was blind and now I see. You see, in the end, who was really the one blind? Both. I know if you're like me, you're like, yeah, Pharisees. Take that. Oh, I love that ending, right? I got chills. I'm like, yeah. Lay it down, Jesus. Yeah. Till I recognized he was talking to me. Then, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. You can see he needs it. Who really was blind in the story? The story's about light and sight. Both. In the end, who needed the healing? Both. 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 I'm going to sing a song. Amazing grace, how sweet. I know you know it. The sound. Stand up. That saved a wretch like me.